Thank you for joining us today for the Power of Public Access webinar sponsored by New Dawn Technologies. My name is Marlene Martineau. I'll be your host and presenter today. For participating in today's webinar, please chat any questions or comments in the chat window in the webinar presentation, or join us on Facebook and Twitter. If you're using Twitter, please use the hashtag NDWebinars. In our last webinar, I presented several different types of access points that you can provide to the public, the media, and other stakeholders in your community. Today, we're going to take a look at just one of those access points, web portals, more in depth. Just by way of clarification, I have a habit of defining web portals as public portals, and I know that this terminology may be limited, and I'm working on correcting my everyday use of the word public, but I'm sure it will slip in sometime today, so please keep in mind that when I use the word public, I'm talking about any person or stakeholder outside your network, and even other departments in your network with whom you may interact. So the public is anyone outside your the direct group that may be actually publishing the information on the portal. Everyone else that you interact with is what I mean by portal. I'll try to stay away from that, but just in case, just understand that that's what I mean by the word portal. So let's start with a quick review. The last time I talked about, in our last webinar, I talked about the limitless possibilities of the Internet. And because of its flexibility and availability, web portals are a great way to present information and or interact with the public, stakeholders, and others within your court or agency. Today, I'm going to be talking to one agency who has been using this flexibility, the flexibility and availability of a web portal for many years. I'd just like to introduce Brad Schafer, who's the System Administrator from the Butler County Prosecutor's Office in Hamilton, Ohio. Brad, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk first about what you're doing with JusticeWeb eDiscovery.
Okay.
Why did you choose to start using an electronic version or an electronic delivery system for your discovery?
Well, as it stands right now, we have deployed eDiscovery only for our area courts division. Area courts in this county are the equivalent of a municipal court, but on the county level. So it's a lower court if you're charged with a crime in an unincorporated area within our county. You go to one of three what we call area courts. It's one court with a capital C. It's three different physical locations, simply for the convenience, because the county is bigger than what you would want with just a single court building. What caused us to want to do electronic discovery and go to a portal type situation was really more born out of need than want. The area courts used to have a system, and we didn't used to keep any area court files. We didn't use Justware for our area court division at all, and everything used to be filed with the court clerk into the clerk's file, including official filings, and then also things that would normally be in our file and would be discoverable. Those were in the court's file also. It was pretty sloppy system, really. And then the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney both had access to the court's file. So discovery was never really an issue. It was never really necessary because either side could go and look at the court's file anytime they wanted and see everything that they needed to see. Obviously, though, there's plenty of downsides to that. You know, things that maybe the defense shouldn't be seeing, they could see. Things that should be redacted weren't redacted, et cetera, et cetera. So recently, the area courts decided that they were going to change their rules on filings, and the court clerk was no longer going to accept anything that shouldn't necessarily be in the court clerk's file. Because they decided to do that, that meant that we were going to have to start keeping track of our own stuff. We were going to have to start providing discovery. We were going to have to start a filing system, et cetera, et cetera. With that in mind, we sort of saw it, one, as an opportunity to expand the ways in which we use Justware and possibly even pioneer sort of a new direction for us, that being the electronic discovery. And then also, not only did we want to do that, but we sort of had no other option, because with the resources that we have on hand here, doing it that way was basically the only way that we were going to be able to accomplish what we needed to accomplish to coincide with their rule changes with our current personnel, with our with the geographical situation, and so on and so forth. So that's really where our want for e-discovery came from, was really more of a need, and being the only way that we were going to get done what we had to get done because of what the courts were doing.
So after some initial setup and configuration of the software, of the portal and the process, making sure that it matched all those rules and all the other qualifications and whatever that you needed, you're able to manage this same program meeting the new requirements and the new rules with the same staff that you had before, or
essentially, well, with minimal additions, yeah.
Okay.
It being that prior our area court division was simply the 3 area court prosecutors, 1 prosecutor assigned to each physical court. There was no way that you could increase your workload at all without adding some support staff. So that's what we did. Is we created we did create 1 full-time and 1 part-time position to act as area court support staff. No matter how efficient a system is, the fact of the matter is, if everybody is working pretty much at capacity and you add work, there has to be something created. But that was all we were able to create, and the system enabled us to do it within those confines. Without something like this, without Justware to keep the cases in, and without the e-discovery to package up the discovery and publish it out onto the web automatically, I would have to think that it would have taken far more than 1.5 additional positions to get done what we needed to get done.
So overall, how is the new process working through Justware and packaging your discovery out into the Justice Web e-discovery module? How is that process working for you? Have you seen any kind of delays, or has it helped speed things up, or how's that communication between you and the courts and the defense attorneys?
Well, it's tough to evaluate it as compared to before, because there really was no before. Like I mentioned, this was all new for us. Being that it was all new, there were some bumps along the way, but that wasn't necessarily caused by the e-discovery itself. Anytime you add business processes to your operation, there's going to be some things that need to get figured out, some things that need to evolve. Overall, I think it's been very good. Especially for on the end of the defense attorneys, from their point of view, I know they're all very happy with it. A couple of them have had a few technical issues here and there where they need a little help. They have to call in for some guidance on, okay, how do I do this? Where do I look? And you're going to have that, I think, anytime you employ technology. There's bound to be some people who adapt, who don't adapt quite as well. But it's really been more a question of us figuring out, from our point of view, how we want to get the work done and how it's best for us to get the work done. But the important part, in my opinion, it's more important to look at how does it look from the end user's point of view, that being the defense attorneys. How pleased are they with it? And like I said, they've been very pleased with it. They think it's real slick that they just submit their discovery request. That tells us, okay, we need to put discovery together on this case, and that they can check back, in a day's time or so, and the discovery is right there waiting for them. I haven't spoken with any of them personally, but I've heard secondhand from more than several defense attorneys who've made comments to the prosecutors and to the support staff and to the administration around here that it's really a slick system, and they're very happy receiving their discovery that way.
Perfect. And is the process, it's still, you said, relatively new, gone through a little bit of growing pains as you would expect any new technology implementation to go through. Are you making any plans or for the future? Are there things that you're planning to change, to add, to make it better?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, the part of too, the idea behind this, the area courts, our area court division was where the need was, and it worked out well because we also saw that as a good entrance into bringing the entire office, the entire criminal felony division, onto the same page to do e-discovery with them too. The area courts having only 3 prosecutors and less of a caseload that involves discovery, they were sort of a good guinea pig, I guess, if you will. But yeah, our future plans, our ultimate goal is to take this throughout the entire criminal division. And then beyond that, there's always possibility that it could somehow be manipulated to being useful for our civil division. I know you personally are familiar with how convoluted our civil division is in its use of justware, and how much work it takes to sort of adapt a process that is not in any way meant to be used with a traditional case management system. But I don't doubt at all that there is some use out there somewhere for this in our civil division, possibly even in our juvenile division. Those would be further down the road. But yeah, our immediate plans are to get this into our criminal division once the bumps are smoothed out, and we find a way to to best implement it there.
That's pretty exciting to think that it's something that started out of a need. You didn't necessarily have an immediate plan to move to an e-discovery system. You were just letting the courts handle it, but because of the rule changes, now you've implemented something that has such far-reaching possibilities as to
Absolutely.
be moving throughout your office. So that's pretty exciting.
And it is something, it's something, even though it was born out of a need, it's definitely something that was on our radar, as well it should be for anyone, in my opinion. I mean, the world is becoming increasingly paperless, and there is a push, and should be a push, really within any organization to look at how can you better leverage technology, and how can you make use of what's available, to further move towards the goal of efficiency and which generally means less paper. So although it was born out of a need, it's certainly, we were and still are, constantly searching for things like this, for ways to eliminate inefficiencies within the organization.
Mm-hmm. Well, perfect. That's a great segue to the next conversation, which is talking about not only providing discovery, but you've been providing basically, well, I'll let you explain a little bit more what it is, but you've been providing public and other types of information through a portal for a lot longer than you've been doing your discovery process.
That's correct. We went live with what was called at the time Justice WebView, all the way back. I just looked at this earlier today. All the way back in 2005, I believe it was. I think toward the end of the year in 2005. we went live with Justice WebView, which essentially is an external deployment of SQL reporting services. It's a deployment of SQL reporting services that is accessible outside of our organization. The irony in calling all of this public portal in our context is that none of it is actually public. We don't do anything that's actually completely public, although we could, and it's been discussed. We've always chosen not to, just for reasons within our office. What Justice WebView has done with Justice Web, the attorneys obviously have logins, which is what I mean by it not being public. They have to request their credentials, and I personally approve every account to make sure that we're not getting people who aren't actual defense attorneys in there. But then when it comes to Justice WebView, what we've used that for so well is to allow us to communicate information in a secure way to agencies outside of our own, to people and agencies not on our subnet, not even on the county network at all. Some examples of that, are law enforcement, for instance. We obviously involve officers in cases. They get involved in events. JustWare has always had such powerful calendaring, which is great for us and for our prosecutors and our people here, but why can't it be great for the other agencies that we work with as well? Justice WebView enabled us to provide law enforcement with calendars and things that they could go check to see what's my when am I scheduled to be in court, when do I have grand jury hearings. We've even gone so far as it's not used as widely, but when we know about an officer's vacation, we'll put it into JustWare so that nothing gets scheduled that the officer needs to be at when he or she is going to be on vacation, and the officer can even go and look and see when we have them as being on vacation. So that's one example. Other examples include, the area courts that we were talking about with the e-discovery, cases that come on bind over from the area courts, from the lower courts up to us, don't always make it through grand jury at a felony level. Sometimes they get what we call certified back, which means they essentially get sent back to the area courts for them to deal with. We used to have to send fax over a report every week telling the area courts what cases they could expect back. Justice WebView allowed us to just put that report in an electronic form and let them check it basically at their convenience to see what was coming back. Our civil division deals with the treasurer's office. We have reports out there that the treasurer's office can check to see which cases we have initiated foreclosure actions on because they haven't paid their taxes. So the treasurer's office gives us a list of cases that are eligible for foreclosure, and then they can check and see which ones we're actually proceeding with. Job and Family Services, CSEA, which is Child Support Enforcement Agency. I have reports out there for them that they can see who we have on fugitive lists. They can cross it up with who they've got for not paying child support, things like that. I mean, those are just the examples that come to mind. There's so many other ways that I can think of, and I'm sure that anyone could think of that would be great to be able to provide information and just put it out there for someone rather than having that someone calling or having to provide it through lesser forms to those agencies that you work with. So it's been an invaluable tool, and if you are an office who interfaces more with the public and chooses to freely share things, in a public entity, it could certainly be used in that fashion too.
And what I really like about the Justice Web eView, or what is now Justice Web eView versus WebView, is you can actually do, it's really easy to do both. Well, I don't know about easy, but you can do both because of the security that you can put on individual reports and for each individual login. So it could be used for the same type of access portal, if you will, for all of those different entities that, like you were talking about, but you could still provide information to the public, to the media, to whoever else needs it.
Absolutely.
To continue to hopefully decrease those phone calls or other direct points of information requests, I guess.
Yeah, and the security, at least as we have it, you know, I don't know what kind of changes have been made between what we run and what's currently out there, but I know with what we have, the security should look very familiar to anyone who has dealt with you know, user group based basically Active Directory type security. Very easy to divvy up, and that's what we've done, just like you were mentioning. I mean, we have it so you know, the law enforcement reports are only available to people who log in with certain law enforcement logins. The CSEA reports are only viewable by the CSEA people. Not that we don't trust any of these agencies that we work with, but you know, it's nice and it's less confusing when you can not only give permissions to certain things, but actually only show someone certain things, the things that they need. You decrease your possibility for error and so on.
And yeah, like you said, just main confusion, because I mean, just in a rough estimate, how many reports do you think are published?
Let me think. How many? I would guess 10, 15, somewhere in there. Not an abundance, because each agency only has a few key things that they really need to see out of our system. You know, if we were to expand and use the same interface for the media or for the public, I could certainly envision at least doubling that.
Still, it's easier if you log in, you have a choice of 1 or 2 reports than looking from between 10 or 15 and trying to remember which one has that piece of information I want to look at right now.
Exactly,
so.
yeah.
So you talked a little bit about expanding this to possibly media or the general public. Is that just still something that's under consideration, or I mean,
it's something that hasn't really been revisited since our new boss took office. It's something that I would like to revisit with him, as I think he would be more apt to want to do something like that. He is very big. Our new boss is very big on transparency within the office and whatnot. There's so many things on my plate that it just hasn't. You know, I mean, getting the e-discovery into criminal would certainly be something that would be higher priority, as well as I could name probably 15 or 20 other things that really need to get taken care of before. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole. The reason it didn't happen before was mostly because my old boss was a bit more paranoid, is actually the best way to put it. And yeah, and then in the past year or so, it's just because I haven't had a chance, but it is something that I have considered and thought that I really should find some time to revisit, because I could very much see us, you know, going that direction with it. And you know, now that SQL reporting services is included in JustWare too, you have flexibility in you know, what you're offering internally versus what you're offering externally, and the fact that you can really leverage both the external deployment as well as the internal deployment, depending on who you're looking to get your information to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's something that probably is due for another look, but I just haven't quite gotten around to it yet.
Well, it sounds like everything that you have available in this, in a accessing via some level of a portal, whether it's discovery or any number of these reports. It sounds like it's been very successful for your prosecutor's office and helped you in a great deal. So.
Yes, I would say that's absolutely right. You know, in the same way that I've heard so many reports from defense attorneys, you know, being quite pleased with e-discovery and saying how easy it is for them to log on, to find the right cases, to download their discovery, and so on. In the same way, all the way back to 2005 and even still today, you know, when I meet with, I'm brought in on things with outside agencies, you know, and the person from our office is saying, hey, you know, they'd like to see this. Is there any way we can give them this? Or you know, I know that we show the treasurer's office, blah, blah, blah. Could we show this other office, whatever? And the people from the outside agencies are always so pleased when I sit there and go, oh, yeah, that's no problem. You know, yeah, I'll put a report together. We'll put it out there. I'll get you a login. And all you got to do is, you know, hit this URL and log in, and there's your information anytime you want it. And you know, a lot of times there's even a bit of disbelief because I don't think people expect it to be nearly as easy as it is. You know, I think a lot of times they say, really? You know, and so, well, how often will you update that? You know, and I say, no, it's updated the second you view it. You know, you want it updated in 5 minutes, look at it in 5 minutes. You want it updated tomorrow, look at it again tomorrow. You look at it whenever you want, and it's always, and they say, wow, you know, it's really always up to date, and that's the beauty of the way the whole system is structured, is that it's pulling the live data if you so choose. It's great that you have the capability for the live data if that's what your stakeholders desire.
Wow, with the budget cuts these days, any time you can realize efficiency in your office is a big win. Brad, I really appreciate your time today and the insights you shared about how a web portal for e-discovery and e-viewing has changed your office. As you can tell, publishing information on a web portal can greatly affect your court or agency depending on what you do, whether you open it up to the general public or lock down all or part to stakeholders who are not part of your network, as Butler County has done. This information can have a direct influence on how effective and efficient your court or agency can be. Once again, I would like to thank Brad for his time today. Brad has kindly given me permission to share his contact information, so feel free to shoot him an email if you have any questions or would like further information on anything he talked about today. I'd like to now open it up for questions you may have. Please type your questions in the chat window or shoot them our way via Facebook or Twitter. That's it for today. Thank you for joining us for this in-depth look at just one of the examples of a web portal. I hope you join us in the future as we look at other types of web portals and access points that can help you be more efficient, transparent, and paperless. Goodbye, everyone.